Hi, I'm Mr. Sellers. My daughter Molly Sellers is a student at Worthington, but in addition to being Molly's dad, I'm also a software developer, which means I write code or computer programs that instruct computers on what to do and make them do whatever I feel like making them do. The kind of code I write is to make apps. Probably a lot of you guys are familiar with apps. They run on phones or on iPads or other tablets or on computers, and that's what I do every day is I write apps. Some apps I've written, there's one called QLab, which is for theaters to use to do sound effects when they're putting on their production. Like if the wind's supposed to be blowing, it may blow the wind, or it also does videos to show them. I've done another theater-related app, which I'll show you here, called Tixado, which is for collecting tickets. So if a theater, somebody's walking up and they bring along their ticket, they can hand their ticket to the person at the gate, who can then scan the ticket and check the person in. So Molly is checked in and ready to go. Another app I wrote is called PairNote, which is an app for taking notes. You guys may not take a whole lot of notes in your classes right now, but as you get older, you probably will. And this app is to help people take notes on their computers. But there are a lot of other apps. These are just a few that I've written. There are lots of apps out there and lots of different kinds. Probably one of the apps that you guys may have dealt with the most are games. There are lots and lots of games. There are millions of people all over the world that are writing the code that goes into games. And whatever your favorite game is, there's somebody that, or actually probably a lot of somebodies, that wrote all the code to make that game work. In addition to games, there's learning apps, things that help you to learn math or to do reading, things that help you to learn about the stars in the sky or to learn other languages. There are apps to communicate with other people like Twitter or Facebook or other ways to talk to other people. All these apps were written by people who wrote the code to make them work. There are navigation apps to find your way around, like to show you a map, and apps that give you information like what time a movie's starting or how to spell a word or what's the weather like outside. There are apps all over the place, and apps are a huge part of code, but that's not all that code is. Code also backs up all the websites that we go to. I don't know if you guys go to a whole lot of websites, but I'm sure your parents do, and this is a great way to connect with businesses or other people all over the world. And websites, they're all code. Somebody's writing the code to make those websites. Those are kind of, apps and websites are traditional things that people think of when they think about what code is. But code is in a lot of other things. Did you know that things all around us are full of code, like your car? Cars have code in them. The code tells the radio what to do. The code tells the engine how much gas to inject into it. The code tells the brakes how to work and when they need to be stronger or when they need to back off. There's code in cars. There's code in TVs. Every time you push a button on your remote control, that button is triggering some code to run in your TV or in your set-top box that controls your TV to make it do whatever you have told it to do. There's also code in everyday items all around us. Like, for instance, this. This is my toothbrush. You may not think of a toothbrush having code, but somebody wrote code that says when I push this button, it's supposed to spin. And if I push it for a long time, it's supposed to go off. If I push it 2 times, it's supposed to spin differently. 3 times, it spins differently. Somebody wrote the code to make this toothbrush work. In fact, toothbrushes aren't the only things. You guys probably have stuff that is powered by code. For instance, toys. There are lots of toys that have electronics in them. This remote control truck right here, somebody working at a toy company wrote the code to make this work. Wrote the code that says when I push this little button here, that means go, and this one turns the wheels to the right. And it says when I do this, send a signal over the air to this guy, and then this guy has code in it that receives that and can turn it into and can follow the instructions in the code to know I'm supposed to turn my wheels to the right. Your toys have code in them. There's code in everything all around us. So there's code all around us. What does that mean? That means we need more coders. As time goes on, more and more things are using code, and we don't have enough coders in the world, whether they be coders that are paid or coders that are doing it for fun or coders that just like to write code. Adults, kids, doesn't matter. We need more coders. There are lots of kids all over the place that are already coding and making websites, making apps, making whatever they want. They may not necessarily be making remote control cars yet, but they can certainly make apps or websites, and you can too. So let's talk a little about what code is. So code looks kind of like this. It may look kind of funny, but we can talk through a little bit. Code is like talking to a robot. It's very logical and it's very big into math. So if you're going to write code, you have to learn a programming language, which is just a special language for talking to the computer and telling it what to do. Like I said, it's kind of like math. So you can see here that there's a greater than sign, there's an equals. So it's a lot like math. Here we're saying if. This looks like it's a game that uses some dice. So if the player 1 dice is rolled and the player 2 dice is rolled, whichever one is greater is the winner. The winner equals player 1 if they're greater, otherwise the winner is player 2. So this is what code looks like. But that's not a very exciting example. So maybe we could try something for real. You want to make a real app? Let's make a phone app. So here, right here, we have a really, really simple phone app. This app is going to draw something. So we're going to say on our screen, we want to draw, and it looks kind of complicated here. Don't worry about exactly what it says, but we're creating a rectangle. And then we're saying, I want to use red to fill in, and this, I'm going to fill in the rectangle. So let's see what happens if we run this on our phone. Oh, there we got a big old red rectangle. Maybe not the most exciting app in the world, but it is a working app that we've just made. And the cool thing is, because we are the coder, we can make it do whatever we want. So if we decide to change our minds and say, you know, I really want to have more space on the side to make the rectangle much smaller. So let's change that and run it again. And now our rectangle is really skinny. And say, well, that looks kind of silly. I don't want that. In fact, I don't like rectangles at all. I'm going to change it, instead of being a rectangle, to being an oval. Still using basically the same math to figure out how big it should be, but I want to make it an oval instead of a rectangle. And if we run that on our phone, whoosh, we've got an oval instead. So we can draw stuff to the screen with code. This may still not be the most exciting example, so let's do something even cooler. We're going to make an app to record and play back stuff to ourselves. So here we've got a blank screen that we're going to use. We want to be able to record stuff, and then we want to be able to play it back. So to do that, we're going to need some way to tell the app, this is what I want to do now. And an easy way to do that is to put a button on there. So let's put a button, and we'll call it record. We probably also need another button to stop recording so it doesn't just go on recording forever. So let's make a stop button. And then if we want to play it back, we probably also need a play button. So now I've got 3 buttons: record, stop, and play. But we haven't given the computer any instructions, any code that tells it what to do when I press those buttons. So we need to give the phone those instructions. So I'm going to switch over to the code and create them. Ignore what's here so far. So I'm going to create a set of instructions for each one of those buttons. For the first one, I'm going to call record, because that's what the button is. And we have to give it instructions for what to do. In order to know what to do, there's a couple things we have to do. First, we need to create an object, which is just something that can do stuff to record. So we need to create a recorder. And this is going to be complicated code. Don't really worry too much about it, what it says, but all I'm doing here is creating a recorder. Okay, and then I need to tell the recorder what I want it to do. And what I want it to do is record. So we say recorder, record. Okay, so that's what our instructions are for recording. Now we need another one for the next button, which was stopping. So let's create a stop. We've already got a recorder, we don't have to create it, so we just need to tell the recorder to stop. So how do we do that? We say recorder, stop. And our last button was the play button. So I'm going to create another set of instructions called play. Here we don't have anything to play yet, so I need to create a player. So I've got a player, and then what do I need to tell the player to do? I need to tell it to play. Okay, so the code may look kind of funny and have lots of funny symbols, but basically all we're doing is saying we need to make a recorder and tell it record. We need to, then if we're going to stop, we need to tell it stop. And then when it's time to play, we need to tell it play. Now we've got these sets of instructions, but we haven't told the phone which button does what yet. So we need to go back here and we just have to draw a line to connect the record button to record instructions, the stop button to the stop instructions, and the play button to the play instructions. All right, we've created our app. Let's run it and see. So here we are running our app. I'm going to hit the record button, and now I'm recording whatever I'm saying. It's not the most exciting thing to say, but I'm recording it. Okay, now I'm going to hit stop and then play it back. And now I'm recording whatever I'm saying. Not the most exciting thing to say, but I'm recording it. Okay, now I'm going to hit stop. So now we've got an app that can record and can play back whatever we just recorded. Isn't that exciting? No? Okay, let's play with it a little bit. Once we're playing it back, we can easily change up how it does. So let's, instead of just playing it, let's change the rate, which means how fast it plays back. What if I set it to 2, meaning twice normal speed? And try that instead. And now I'm recording whatever I'm saying. Not the most exciting thing to say, but I'm recording it. Okay, now I'm going to stop. Was that more fun? Do you like twice normal speed? Or we could even go instead with 0.5. If you haven't seen decimal places yet, that just means a half. So here we're going to go at half speed. So if I run it at half speed and play it back, it's going to sound like this. And now I'm recording whatever I'm saying. Not the most exciting thing to say, but I'm recording it. Okay, now I'm going to hit stop. So now we got half speed. So we can change how we want things to work because we are writing the code and we can make it work however we want. We just built an app. We kind of built two, but mostly we built the audio recorder. And you can build apps too, or you can build websites. You can do any of this stuff. Code is not something that you have to wait until you're an adult and have gone to college to write. It's something that you can write as a kid, and you can write as an adult. Anybody can write code. You do need to learn the language. The language may look kind of funny, and it'll take a little bit of effort, but you can certainly do it. You just have to put your mind to it. Most of you have learned lots of other things already, so you can easily learn how to write a programming language. Okay, so I think that's enough for now. I thank you for listening, and I hope that you all go out and start playing with code and learn a lot about it.